Whoa! Hey, Steve.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good. I assume you can hear us?
Absolutely. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you just fine, yeah.
Oh, 8 o'clock?
So, chat, this is Steve Butts, Content Director for The Escapist. If you have any questions, go over to the desertbus.org site. There's a thread there for him. You can post questions in the comment thread there. Steve, hi. How's it going?
Face of butts.
It's going great.
Awesome face.
Nice picture.
Thank you, thank you. You guys have a lot of people there right now.
We do. We do. It's crazy.
Is this your capacity? I mean, is this a full house, or are there still people you're waiting on?
No, there have been more. We have previously this year had more people in here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Every time I've tuned in so far, it's been somebody singing.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. We get a lot of song related challenges.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, I've already said what you do, but how about you introduce yourself for the people watching who may not know who you are?
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'm Steve Butts. I'm editor-in-chief of The Escapist. I've been doing that for about 2 months. Prior to that, I was managing editor for a little over a year. Before that, I worked at IGN for, 11 or 12 years. So I've been in the industry on the journalism side for a long, long time. It's one of the greatest jobs I've ever had. I love doing it. I love going to work every day, which to me is worth a lot.
Awesome.
Johnny, can you turn it down just a touch?
Yeah, I just did.
So I'm just seeing what questions.
Can I ask one?
Yeah.
I have one. What's it like going through life with the last name Butts? I mean, there's just so many jokes. You know what I'm saying? It's too easy.
Yeah, it was a little rough, but I was one of those kids that I got big early.
Yeah.
So I was a lot bigger than most of my classmates in like 4th or 5th grade. So
Right.
by that
You're
point,
making
a lot
a
of the
butt
jokes
joke,
stopped
kid? Yeah, exactly.
because I was so physically imposing. I mean, you can see
Right.
just my manner right here, my aspect is just very intimidating.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
So it was rough early on, but it kind of evened out after a while.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to get that out of the way because about a third of the questions.
Oh, that! I meant I asked.
In the thread right now are about your name.
Yeah.
I get it a lot, but like professionally speaking, it's a real advantage because people aren't likely to forget meeting.
That's
me.
true. That's true.
That is true. I can imagine there being.
You never
people.
forget that. Name
Right.
Too.
Okay, here's a question that doesn't involve butts. With all of the superhero movies coming out lately, do you think a Doctor Strange movie will happen?
Yes. Somebody actually knows me asking that question.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Steve Ditko fan, a huge Doctor Strange fan. It's my avatar on the forums. I have a little Doctor Strange action figure on my desk, so I would absolutely love to see that. I think they are talking about actually making one of those movies. There was one made for TV, I think an ABC, sort of like movie of the week back in the 70s or 80s that was just terrible. I mean, the guy looked like a porn star as opposed to Earth Sorcerer Supreme. So there has been a Doctor Strange movie already, but I'm hopeful that they'll make a really, really good one that's true to the character soon.
Sweet. I'm not going to ask Steve why he decided to add 0 punctuation to The Escapist because he wasn't working there when that happened.
Right.
What's been your biggest challenge now that you are editor-in-chief?
A lot of meetings, basically. I mean, it's I got into this business because I like games and I like writing, but now I'm in more of an administrative role, so I do less playing and writing about games. Now it's more content planning, making spreadsheets, having sales calls, things like that. That's the most challenging thing, is sort of weathering that transition.
There's a question here about if you hope to make any changes creatively to The Escapist now that you're sort of at the helm of that department.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff in mind, a lot of things that the publisher, Alexander McCrease, and I have talked about doing. The problem is that I took over right before all the reviews started to hit for the holiday rush, so I haven't really had a lot of opportunity to do things other than play Skyrim, play Assassin's Creed, play Batman Arkham Asylum.
Oh, muffin.
What a horrible job!
Skyrim's so good.
It's like the worst thing ever, right?
Yeah.
But it is. I mean, it is. At the end of the day, it is a job. I mean, being obliged to play a lot of games is fun, and like I say, it's better than any other job I've ever had. But at the same time, every once in a while, I'd rather not play a game. You know what I mean? I'd rather sort of do something else with my free time. So, I always joke it's kind of like. It's kind of like being a gynecologist. It looks, intriguing from the outside, but at the end of the day, it's just what you do.
Yeah.
That was
Just a joke.
wonderful.
What's
Yeah, I mean,
metaphor there.
for myself and Paul, ever since
You're
we
gonna see
started.
things you never wanted to see.
for myself and Paul,
That's right.
ever since we started doing Unskippable, we've actually spent less time playing games.
Yeah, I know,
Than we
I
did
know.
before. Like, we see more individual games week to week, but
Right.
we actually have less time to play them.
Stop after the cutscene.
Steve Butts, are you any relation to Alfred Mosher Butts, inventor of Scrabble?
No, but I tell people I am.
Nice.
I'll be honest with you guys tonight. No, I'm not, but I have told people in the past that I am related to him.
My mom's last name is Graham Bell, and I have told people I'm related to Alexander Graham Bell, and I believe that is a falsehood.
I won't tell anybody if you don't.
All right, it's a good thing no one's listening.
That's right.
Especially not 2,400 people.
I saw your review of Skyrim. You said you would play more of it. Did you? And if so, has that changed your opinion at all?
Well, this is the thing. This is what I was talking about earlier. You know, I had to sort of play as much Skyrim as possible before the embargo lifted, and I was able to review it. And then once that was done, it was on to the next thing. I've been playing Assassin's Creed since then, which I love, but I haven't had as much time to dive back into Skyrim as I'd like. The weird thing is we've had what I would call Skyrimitis infect the office.
Oh yeah.
I have a very flexible personal time off policy at the Escapist. So the week that game came out, we must have had 7 or 8 people take sick days.
I am currently having Skyrim withdrawals, so.
Sick
Yeah.
days.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
The weird thing is that some people actually are sick. There is some sort of plague going around the office, so it's hard to tell who's actually really sick and who is, you know,
I'm playing Skyrim.
just out for Skyrim.
Yeah.
You can do both, you know. You can be sick and play Skyrim.
Yeah.
Catching
Oh,
up the Skyrim. If
That's
you're
true.
copying
Other
This
people.
is true. We have some people who are roommates, and one of them will be sick legitimately, and the other one will be sick just to play Skyrim.
They should. The person who's healthy should get the other person to infect them, so they can play Skyrim
Yeah.
without the guilt.
Right.
That's right.
We'll just eat the
I
tissue.
need you to lick this lollipop I'm about to eat, so I can play Skyrim for a week.
Sure. Could you just rub your eyes on my keyboard for a few minutes?
Question from the chat. Dear Dr. Master Editor, how many hours of gaming do you log in a week, work and pleasure?
Well, they're indistinguishable. I mean, work and pleasure can be the same sort of thing in my line of work. It depends. Like I said, I'm doing a lot more administrative stuff now, so it may be as few as 10. The weeks leading up to Skyrim, it was as much as 30.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a whole separate full-time job
Yeah.
to play these games.
Is there any entertaining ways in which you have abused your new power?
None that I'd be willing to admit to.
Yeah.
And it's not power.
Yeah.
Right.
Nothing
Yeah, I mean, the whole point is sort of not getting caught doing that.
Right.
So yeah, there have been plenty of ways I've done that, but I'm certainly not going to own up to it, given that a lot of our readers are probably listening to this right now.
Yeah,
What happens in
Right.
Desert Bus stays in Desert Bus.
Right.
We will delete it all afterwards.
Pie or cake?
So, cool.
Cake, absolutely, 100%. I love pie, but it's sometimes
really?
acid.
More for me.
Pie, yeah. I'm all about pie.
Kind of
so.
pie.
All the pies.
All the pies.
Well, my wife was a baker for a while, so she took a lot of classes, and we made what she called practice cakes. So I learned to really enjoy cake, and she got good at making it. So to me, pie just doesn't even compete.
But have you ever had raspberry rhubarb pie? That's the question.
Oh, rhubarb.
I don't think I ever have had a rhubarb pie. No.
Raspberry rhubarb. Go eat that, and then your idea will
The
change.
strawberry rhubarb.
Okay.
So
Done.
anyway,
How much
Shake your
time
lemon
is
pie.
spent creating the review of a game after you've played it?
It depends. If it's an Xbox Live Arcade title, something fairly light, it could be an hour or two. If it's something real in depth, like Civ 5 or Skyrim, it could be a full day or two.
yeah.
Alright.
I mean, our process involves a lot of other people. It's not just the review writer. So I'll come in, I'll write a script, I'll send it around to everybody just to kind of get another pair of eyes on it. They'll send back comments. Then Justin and I, who's our video producer, we'll sit down in the capture room and we'll go through the script and decide what types of footage we need. We'll spend 2 or 3 hours capturing that. Then he edits for a few hours while I write the review, and then it all gets passed around again for people to look at and comment. And I mean, it can take a full day or two for a big game.
Cool. What? Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought that was. Are there any upcoming games you're looking forward to? I mean, all the real big ones have sort of come out already, haven't they?
Well, they have. I mean, Star Wars: The Old Republic is still coming out this
That's
year,
true.
so that's a pretty massive one that I am genuinely looking forward to.
Yeah.
I kind of got burnt out on MMOs. There's a lot of sameness in
Bad
those
writing.
games. and they're sort of I don't know. In order to protect the other player's experience, they have to be sort of generic. There's
Yeah.
no way for me to really have a lasting impact on the world.
You can't have an epic hero.
Yeah, exactly. And BioWare's promised that that's what they're bringing to the Old Republic.
Right.
And,
I hope they do.
But based on what I've played, they are succeeding at least a little bit on that level. So I'm definitely looking forward to playing the full game later next month.
We had John Scalzi phone in earlier, and this person asked them this question and then decided, why not? They'll ask you this question too. What is your opinion of erotic Star Trek fan fiction?
You're awesome.
I'm firmly in the con column.
Oh.
I think this is
Smart.
Again, more
Is
for
that-
me.
possibly someone
Against-
looking to pitch a
Oh,
manuscript, I think.
Yeah, is this guy looking
Yeah.
to make a
Yeah.
pitch or?
Yeah, no, just
She
because
likes
I'm
cons
personally
with
against
Jay.
it doesn't mean that I don't think it would do well.
So you're saying that we should we should make a con for,
Right.
for
You only like the one
erotic
with
fan
con.
fiction?
Please send all those submissions to our features editor and managing editor, Susan Arendt.
Oh, I hope Susan's listening. How much travel is involved with being editor in chief?
Not as much as there is in the levels below that. I'm absolutely indispensable around the office, so I kind of I have to be around. But you have the editorial prerogative at my level. So if there's a trip that I really want to take, I can say, "All right, everybody stand aside. This one's mine."
Nice. There you go. There.
The power.
Power.
There it is.
Using
Right.
power.
That's right.
Yeah, well, the same thing happened with the Skyrim review. There were a few people that said, "Hey, I'd like to do this game," and I thought, "Well, that's nice, but
I am all
I think
over this.
I'll be doing it."
This is a question I can actually help answer. Someone asking, as the editor in chief, how much input do you have in series such as Unskippable or Zero Punctuation?
Not much. I work with people who are creating brand new series to kind of generate a focus and a format that works for our audience and that is repeatable. I mean, you guys know, you do weekly shows. You have to have
Yeah.
something that works week to week and that is entertaining and that allows you to arrive at the table on day one with some sort of idea of where you're going. As far as you guys or ZP, you know, those shows were already up and running when I came on board, and you guys do a great job. Yahtzee does a great job, so there's no reason to tinker with that formula right now.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the most, and this even goes back to before you were in charge when Russ was still there. The most interaction we had on week to week was like, where's the episode? You know,
Right.
like we. That's one of the reasons that we love having our shows.
Full critic
On the
control.
Escapist is we get editorial control. Like
Yeah.
there's never once been something that they've had to come back and be like, we need you to change this because
Right.
that's not how they roll, which is nice. So
Well, we try only to partner with people that we know are going to succeed and that have good enough instincts that we don't have to manipulate
Right.
them. We don't have to intervene, and you guys certainly fit that category.
well, thank you. What is your favorite style of content on the Escapist? The comedy, like Loading Ready Run, the less serious stuff, but still, you know, like Zero Punctuation, or the more serious content like some of the columns? Like
Wow, that's a really tough question.
like Movie Bob.
Yeah, I mean, I love all the stuff we do. Well, I won't say all the stuff. I won't tell you what I don't love, but I love most of what we do on the Escapist. The thing that I like about the site overall is that it's very focused on gaming as a lifestyle. Having worked at IGN for such a long time, I was very focused on reviews and previews. I mean, it was very product focused. And that's great. There's definitely a place for that. But working at the Escapist, it's more treating gaming as a sort of a cultural phenomenon. So I like the types of content that speak to gaming as a lifestyle. Something like Gymquisition, where it's not just about here's this game, here's what I like about it. It's here's a large issue within the industry. Here's a way we're perceiving games, or a way that people are thinking about games, or game criticism that's relevant. So the types of content that I appreciate most are content that are the types of content that inform that perspective.
All right. Well, here's a couple.
I also like jokes.
Yes, jokes
Yeah.
are good.
Jokes are
Right.
old.
Of course.
Here's a couple of good questions. If I was thinking about applying to write for the Escapist, what are some concerns I should be thinking about?
Well, do you want to be poor the rest of your life? I mean, this is not a very lucrative career in terms of a financial return. I mean, it's the kind of thing that people do because they love the medium.
Yep.
It's the sort of thing that people do because they would be doing it anyway, even if they weren't getting paid for it.
That's why we're here, because we don't. Because it's not lucrative for us either.
Right, yeah, but it's the kind of thing that you enjoy doing and would do anyway, just because it's inside you. You've got to get it out. So if you don't have that enthusiasm, you can't fake it. That would be my first piece of advice to people. The second thing is to be broad-minded. I've got a relative in my family who wants to break into the gaming industry, but all he ever plays are wrestling games. And I say, well, your perspective is very narrow. You need to sort of broaden your interest a little bit. So. Someone who wanted to write for The Escapist, I would say just make sure that it's something you really, really want to commit to doing, and that you have a perspective that's broader than just what you've experienced or what you think is interesting yourself personally.
Sorry, Lily's in the chat, and she's sad that I didn't mention the webcomics. I'm sorry, Lily.
I love webcomics.
Lily, who does Name Game. I'm good, I got these two.
That's okay, we'll give Lily plenty of love tomorrow when she shows up. Plug.
What's the, and this can go back beyond The Escapist, back to your IGN days, what's the worst game you've ever had to review?
Wow, that's big. When I first started freelancing, I had to review all the schlock that the regular staff editors didn't want to touch. So I played things like Jeff Gordon's Pepsi Racer, which was quite terrible. Once I got on staff, I reviewed a couple of stinkers. There's a game called Blaze and Blade that was just terrible. There's a game called Tsunami 2465 that I once said was as pleasurable as walking around with a can of paint hanging from your testicles.
Ow.
So those are the ones that immediately spring to mind.
That's awesome.
Have you ever played Titus the Fox for Game Boy Color?
No, I haven't. I haven't played Desert Bus either, but I hear that it's amazing.
It's really
so
Oh,
bad.
it is. It is.
You gotta really get into it and
But
play it for about a
if
week
you don't
at a
put
time.
30 hours, you don't really understand the experience.
Yeah, the first
Right,
30,
right.
40
So-
hours, you're not going to enjoy after that.
The,
It gets really good.
the end game is great.
That's right.
It's basically
the
Final
boss
Fantasy
fight at
13.
the end is epic.
With fewer noises.
No, you actually, you
Yeah,
actually
the
fight
boss turns into
the
a giant
soft
mechanized creature, and Godzilla drops down. It's awesome. It's great.
What's the, okay, thinking back, this is I guess the other side of that coin. Thinking back, what is the first game that you played that you truly enjoyed?
Wow, that I truly enjoyed. I really liked Adventure for the Atari. That was one of the
Nice.
first things where I thought,
Sweet.
Yeah.
wow, I get this. Like I understand what's cool about this. And you look at that game today, and there was really nothing there. You're just a little square, and you pick up an arrow, and you fight a dragon that looks like a duck. But it was just so compelling. You were able to sort of project so much of yourself into that game. At least I was, as a little 5 or 6 year old kid. That stuck with me my whole life.
But was it cinematic?
It was very cinematic.
And was it compelling?
Was it
It
immersive?
was compelling.
It was all the buzzwords. It was emergent. You had the bat, and you could lock him up in a tower, or you could steal a key and get stuck in a castle, and suddenly your game.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you were like that game. You were playing like some pretty high-level thinking to very simple objects and whatnot, and it was very cool. It was sort of like Zelda before there was Zelda.
Yeah, I loved it.
Wasn't it like 2K all told or something?
Something like that. Yeah.
Really, really small.
Okay, I want to get to this because this is just funny. Okay, so yesterday we were introducing our friend Steve here to the chat, and we were like, hey everyone, it's Steve, and then people in the chat were like, oh, ask him what it's like having the last name Butts, and I was like, no, Steve Butts is calling in tomorrow. This is a completely different Steve Dengler.
Just for clarity, Steve, my last name is Dengler, which is not a lot different than Butts when you're growing up, quite frankly.
The
so.
butts
There's
and the
definitely
dangler
some
often go
jokes there.
together.
And so then I made some sort of offhand comment about Butts and Dengler, they fight crime.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And
Dangler butts.
Someone
Rolls off
wrote
the tongue a little bit.
this couple hundred word short
Pretty
story
awesome.
about detectives Stephen Dengler and Steve Butts.
Sure.
Which I sent to you guys, and we're gonna do a little reading of at the moment. I'll provide the narration.
All right.
So
let me-
we're
let me
doing our
pull up
lines,
the,
you're doing
the
narration?
script again.
Yeah,
here.
sure, we'll do
Oh,
that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let me get my.
Anyway, I'm gonna put it over here so I can. If you have your copy there, Steve, then I
do.
need to put this on the screen. Perfect. Oh, and we need a chief. I'm looking at you, Jer.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
But I
and
need to.
Chief of what?
just the chief of police.
Oh,
He's the chief.
I need to have some sort of visibility
Hey,
of this.
give him,
He's
grab
right.
that. Someone grab that.
Because he's the chief.
police hat right there?
3 minutes less.
It's a radio play though.
Because he's the chief.
1 second, guys.
Right.
Steven, if I'm going to do this though, I don't think Graham can get it properly formatted on
There you
that
go.
screen.
You're
so
the
I'll
chief.
need,
Chief of police.
Maybe I can do this. Hang on.
Oh, yeah, copying and pasting. That's good.
Copy and paste.
Jared's a really good chief, actually.
Could you grow your beard out a little bit more in the next 30 seconds?
That's pretty impressive.
I think I can hear it growing.
There we
Are
go.
detectives officers?
Detectives don't have to wear hats. 'Cause, you know,
Didn't you normally
Yeah,
get
no,
a
we're
shot
detectives.
They're
We're undercover,
to
possibly.
get
There
that
you
gargle?
Okay, and then there's. Okay, what else? Who else is in here? There's a.
All kinds of people. Russian?
Yeah, there's more people than I
Russian.
thought.
Wait,
There's a-
wait. The Russian has to be Kathleen.
Kathleen's a Russian?
Because the Russian is the accent she can do.
Oh,
Oh, it's true,
Okay,
yeah.
so Kathleen, you'll be clearly Russian.
Okay.
true.
No, I'm just
It
narrating.
says not
Sure,
just
why not?
Russian.
It's the only
Clearly
No, I
Russian.
don't think
It's the only
so.
Russian.
Clearly, yeah, you're right.
I was like, why is that
clearly
moving
Russian.
weird?
Do that.
That's pretty
Said
clever.
a man
though.
clearly. Well, Kathleen can take it.
Okay, it's gonna be a lady. You'll never know the
Yeah,
difference.
it doesn't. I don't think it says
And-
otherwise.
Is it said a man?
Someone to read this
Russian.
line.
Brady.
Sounded more American. Maybe
The
British.
Americans?
Maybe British at a
Daniel, you want to do this?
Yes. Daniel?
Yeah, get up here.
We thinking Texan?
Okay,
What are we
read this
thinking
line.
here?
You got one
Okay. All right, let's try this. See how this works. All right.
So which one line is it? You got?
He's got.
12 a.m. Ralph Roy Motel. Stephen Dengler gripped his revolver with one hand, finger tightly curled around the trigger. Sweat ran down his brow, and his lips curled into a snarl as fierce as an angry horse. Butts! He whispered across the doorway. Steve Butts looked up, similarly holding a pistol.
Ready?
Butts nodded. The newbie was clearly uncomfortable. This was his first real bust. Some kind of small-time group of criminals who wanted to bust down the doors at a charity operation in Canada. The Desert Bust, they called it. We could hear them plotting just inside the dank motel as we limbered ourselves up.
This will be no simple task.
Said a man, clearly
A
Russian.
woman.
Said a woman. Said a woman, clearly Russian. She sounded big and battle-hardened.
The moon base has extensive security.
Our agents can handle it, I assure you.
This one sounded more American. Maybe British at a stretch.
Then we should begin as soon as we can.
It was then that the door was burst in. Both were scruffy, both were armed to the teeth with a wide variety of knives and firearms, and both had revolvers pointed directly at them.
Freeze!
Came the voice of Butts as the two cops stepped fully into the motel room. Neither of the terrorists moved, aside from a grin and a twitch from the American. His phone was sending a message.
You are too late.
He said. He looked completely self-satisfied.
We've already dispatched 100 agents to the moon base. Those children will never get the money.
Butts and Dangler kicked the two men to the ground and cuffed them. 12:35, rode to the moon base.
Jer.
Yeah.
You can't do this to me, Dangler!
The yells of the chief threatening to burst the cell phone speakers.
You need to get back to the station pronto!
I'm sorry, Chief, but this problem is bigger than both of us, and I'm not just gonna sit down and let it happen.
Dangler's foot was fully outstretched, forcing the pedal down as far as it would possibly move.
Butts, take this call! I need to drive!
Butts and Dangler could both hear the chief screaming as the phone was handed over. Dangler's grip tightened on the steering wheel as his knuckles were white. The engine screamed in protest, but still he did his best to pump all the fuel it could. There was a black vehicle in the distance as they were closing in fast. The outline of the moon base was just on the horizon.
Chief,
Said Butts as calmly as he could with his adrenaline pumping.
we're already there.
More imperceptible yelling, then the phone clicked off. Butts cursed and threw it to the floor of the car.
We're off the case, Dingler.
Do you really think this is about the case anymore?
Asked Dangler, leaning forward in his seat as they approached the vehicle.
I could care less about our jurisdiction, Butts. I've got a bus to save. To be continued. Dude, we're an awesome team.
I think MVP goes to the
Absolutely.
Russian man.
Yeah.
Right.
I gotta say
Battle
that to be
hardened Russian
continued.
man.
That better be serious. They better
I'll trade you.
because
We
if-
gotta
if
find the
this-
right
if
rule.
That story's left at that point. I don't think I'm gonna be able to sleep.
That's right.
Could that be a challenge? Could we challenge the person
Someone
to
to
finish
finish
the
it.
story?
No, a different person should finish it. Yes. We should get a different person to finish it. This would be funny though.
Well,
No!
we'll have to.
Sorry, well, you missed the.
If we don't get the second part, well, because it's pretty late where Steve Butts is. We'll have to We'll have to Skype you both back in later in the
totally,
run.
yeah.
Yeah. But if you wrote that story, send us a second part. And if we don't get a second part, we'll do a challenge or something.
Can I
Yeah.
challenge?
That
Can I
was great.
incentivize it somehow?
All right, let's incentivize
Is
this.
there something I can do, like to
Pig
like
swing.
offer money? Well, to finish it.
Let me see.
It's kind of hard to do.
Well, we want to see if we can get the people who wrote that originally to do it.
Agreed. Those people. Yeah. I want,
Kathleen?
They do it by a certain time.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like, get them a
What's the
game.
status of the
Sort
Iron
of
Stomach donations?
Probably not much.
Is there
more
some
than
paradigm we can sort of fit this into here?
We're not even sure if they're still in the
I'll tell you what. I will reply to him,
chat,
and
so
we'll
we'll figure it out.
see what we can do.
All right.
You and me, Steve.
Are we
We're
doing
gonna
hot
finish
dog
this
yet?
story.
It's us. We're gonna crack this one. We're gonna get that bus. We're gonna save it.
I feel a web series here, man.
Right?
I like
I
it.
feel like a new calling in my life.
Yeah,
Forget a new
telling
web
you.
series. I may be in the wrong career.
There you go.
Oh man, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was a lot of
Right?
fun.
That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. someone's challenging you to write a review of Desert Bus for the Escapist. Oof.
Nice.
That's the game, though. Then you have to put 30 hours into it before you review it.
Right. Yeah. So it's standard Skyrim rules apply.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Hey,
You have to get 3 points.
Which one?
Which Steve?
Butts.
Hello.
Mr. Butts.
Yes.
I have been challenged to assemble as many facts as I can before the end of my shift. So I need to ask you. Each fact is worth money, so it has to be a good fact.
Great.
I need to ask you for the best fact that you can give me. What is your favorite piece of trivia?
My favorite piece of trivia. Interesting. The panda is actually a giant raccoon, not a bear.
Nice.
I like it.
That's good.
Quality.
I believe that's actually a misconception.
All right, it's a fact. It's not a misconception.
That they have actually
He can
determined
hear you,
that.
Matt.
I know,
You're
but
bad at whispering.
last time I looked it up, it said that it actually is genetically more closely related to the bear after all.
But he's awesome with a pistol, and he kicks indoors like a
Yeah.
madman.
Yeah.
Also,
or Steve?
nobody
Pandas.
asked Matt, right? She's asking Matt,
Pandas
right?
do.
All right. Thank
for
you,
the,
Steve.
For the record, I'm sorry for scheduling your call so late. It totally didn't actually occur to me until after I'd already sent you the time, like
Time
3
zone.
days.
What's the
Three
time zone?
days after I sent you the time. That
Carolina.
wait,
Eastern.
that's like midnight and a half.
Blue EST.
We're on the
Yeah,
same
it's almost
time.
11:30 where Steve is.
Yeah, I'm usually up this late, and I've got little kids, so an earlier time would not have worked for me. Now that they've been
Fair
to
enough.
sleep, I can be awake, and I can pretend to be part of a awesome buddy cop movie with
Yeah, that's
That's excellent.
with a guy who shares my same first name.
Well, and I've got kids, and I'm from your time zone. No, it's the
right.
similarities are endless, man.
yeah.
This is weird.
Maybe Steve Butts
we-
is Steve
Yeah,
Butler.
you never
We
see them in the
managed-
same
That's
place.
right.
You never see us together in the same place.
That's true. You're really good at throwing your voice, Steve. Addressing
And
either
that's
side.
right.
That's right.
But who is the real Steve?
Radio.
The one we can touch.
That's right.
Yes.
All right. Well, I guess. Well, I don't think we can top that. So, thank you so much for calling in, Steve.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Episode 2, man. Episode 2.
Yeah, and seriously, let me know when the second chapter of that
I'm
story.
totally down with
I will
Absolutely.
be back.
Totally.
You should already have Mondays on Skippable. The loading ready runs a little late.
Okay.
We're a little
I'll
busy.
manage.
All
I
right.
guess you've got other stuff going on, right?
Just a couple things. Don't worry, it comes in.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Good night.
Talk to you later.